Do you ever get the feeling like you don't want to go home? When you come home from a long day of work or school, how do you feel? Instant relief and relaxation as you find yourself immersed in your environment? Or are you becoming more irritable and agitated with every step you take? Hello everyone, I'm Julie, a formerly trained certified interior designer, and on this channel we love to talk about all things design. In today's video, Unlocking the Power of Interior Design, I'm sharing my top pro tips on how to create a stress-free environment at home. I am not a mental health professional by any means, but it doesn't mean that my friends and family aren't coming to me for life advice. They find themselves constantly stressed in their homes. There's no time for joy or play. Their home doesn't feel inviting, but ultimately they're overwhelmed. We're talking poor space planning, too much clutter, lack of functionality. Like, how do people even live without a valet station at their entry? You're not stressed out by your space because it doesn't look like a design magazine. You're stressed out by your space because you didn't even design it. I'm not talking about walking in your home and seeing your dream kitchen with all of the beautiful appliances or having like the latest trendy lounge chair. I'm talking about living in your home, studying it, understanding how you live on the daily, and designing your space to effectively and efficiently support those needs. Now let's get to the fundamentals of good interior design and show you what you should prioritize if you want a stress-free space. Timestamps will be listed below in the description box, so feel free to jump around the video if that's how you like to consume the content. Space planning is the first most critical step when it comes to interior design. Do not skip this step if you want a stress-free space. So here's how you space plan for maximum efficiency. You want to map out the structure of your home and then start to demarcate how you use the house. I would start at the point of entry. Some of us enter through the main front door. Some of us enter through the garage. Some of us enter through a side or back door. We all have very singular habits. You have to understand your space and your needs and design a plan that supports both of those ideals. So now that you're in your entry, you want to notice the path that you take naturally from your entry to your next landing space. If you're entering your home through the garage and you're traveling to the kitchen, are you bumping to any furniture as you bring the groceries in? Is there clutter littering the floors? Do you have a space, a dedicated landing zone for you to drop off all of your personal items and your essentials before you actually step into the home? If you're always losing your keys or your purse, your wallet, your glasses, for me, it's my phone, you want to dedicate zones so that you don't lose these things. Organizing your home and turning it into an efficient, well-oiled machine is the key to good design. Wherever that landing zone is, you want to craft out an area for all of your essentials. If you use your garage more than your front door, you might want to house all of your shoes in a cabinet that's conveniently located in the garage. Efficient space planning also has a lot to do with defining zones. I live in an open concept home, so for me, there is no defined zones between the living and the dining area. The breakfast nook actually used to be in my kids' play area, and once I kind of knocked down all the walls, I carved out a larger dining area in the adjacent lounge space. I knew how we lived. When I bought the home, my husband and I were singles. We didn't have kids yet, so it was just us entertaining pretty much every single weekend with our friends. I wanted a really open concept space so that we can entertain, we can host. There are so many social gatherings, and the lines are really blurred between all of the common areas, which I love because it creates more of like a social gathering environment, almost like you're at a bar or a lounge. Now that we have kids and they're still in the toddler phase, I still love my open concept living because I get to see them. Open plan living to me allows me to navigate different zones, different environments for both of my kids. So an open concept space really works for my family because I understand exactly how we use the house and how I like to move through the space. So once you've defined the zones for your entry and you understand your habits and what you're doing on the daily, now I want you to apply those same tips to your living room, your dining room, and your kitchen. Once you have all of your furniture in place, now it's time for you to optimize flow. What does that mean? It means understanding how you move through your space. Most of us don't want to open the front door and then walk into like the back of a sofa. In feng shui terms, your chi gets blocked this way. That's like where all the positive energy enters your home. So if you have clutter, if you have bulky furniture, if you have things that are blocking your flow or even the flow of chi, then you need to take another look at your space planning. You want to open your rooms up so the furniture doesn't block your pathways and aisles. You want to measure efficiently and scale the furniture proportionately to the size of the room. Decluttering is always the first step when it comes to a happier home. You want to remove furniture, home decor items, little tchotchkes that are not functional, they're not useful, and they're just not inspiring to look at. Sometimes when items hold sentimental value, I get it. We keep it in our homes because there's a memory that's tied to it. But when there are things that are just taking up too much visual clutter or too much room in our space, we don't have a chance to relax and unwind. Open space doesn't just mean less furniture, it also means less visual clutter. Now look in your living room. Is the sofa, sectional, or couch you have in there just perfect for the space? Is it scaled proportionally to the living room? Is it comfortable to sit in and sink in? Can you nap on the sofa or sit for long periods of time? If your answer is a resounding no to any of the above questions, then you gotta get rid of that piece. I understand filler furniture or heirloom furniture, something that's been handed down. You might hang on to a piece because you can't afford to purchase a new one, or you might be hanging on to it because you're saving up for your dream piece. I mean, I love that for you. But what I don't love is furniture that doesn't fit your space, or worst off, it's uncomfortable. It's almost like stepping into Louboutin, right? And I love these like 6-inch pair of platform shoes. And the minute I put it on, I can't even stand straight. I get it, you know, they're hot. You know, who doesn't want red bottom heels? Just remember, if it wasn't comfortable when you left the store, it ain't gonna be comfortable when you bring it in your house. Once you have a space that functions exactly as you need it to, now it's time to have a little fun with it. Color is the ultimate way for you to express yourself in your home. The psychology of color dictates that certain colors can elicit certain moods depending on brightness and saturation. You want to use your personal associations with color to help elevate your mood in a space. I love to be surrounded by color, but once I'm in my studio or once I'm in my bedroom, I like a very neutral environment. I like a zen-like space for me to decompress and unwind after a long day. However, in the living room, dining room, and kitchen, I like more social activity, more interaction. The rooms are really enveloped in color, from my kids' play area to this really gorgeous lounge. It was almost like a jewel box for me when I initially designed it with reds and greens. It's also a nod to my Asian culture to be surrounded by so much color. It makes a home feel so much more vibrant and alive, and it makes me feel better as a result. You want to learn how to differentiate between warm and cool tones and key into how they make you feel. Warm sunset hues have a very active energy to it. True red can be associated with anxiety versus a pale blush pink, which is associated with a more calming, soothing environment. So if you like these sunset hues, you always want to ask yourself, how much is too much? Can I live in a red bedroom versus like a millennial pink one? How do you use color in space? Think about how you feel when you walk into a room and notice the colors that are around it. Are those colors that excite you? Are those colors that calm you? When we first bought the home, I knew that I wanted like a very dark and moody bedroom. I loved like chocolate colors. My bedding was like all creams and whites. So that high contrast just made me feel like I was in like a dark cavernous space, and I loved it. And then right before I had Kamari, my first child, I wanted like a total blank slate. So it was probably about a month before I gave birth that I enlisted my painter to paint the entire room white. I knew that I would be nursing. She would be co-sleeping with us. So I wanted a room that was just very light, bright, and happy. Ultimately, that white really depressed me years down the line. I mean, I'm a designer, someone who crafts and carves out like killer spaces loaded with texture and layers and color and design. And all of a sudden, I find myself living in this blank white slate bedroom. It was depressing for me as a designer. I just felt like there's just so many more ways that I could have been inspired by my space, and just reverting or settling on white was just a really huge design mistake. And I didn't foresee it at that time. I didn't know how it was going to make me feel. But cluing in to how white depressed me down the line, it took me another 3 years to get it to the point that it is now. White is not a color. Okay, white is safe. Could be seen as boring unless you tint it, unless you pour some pigment in it, unless it has a little bit of a saturation. White, for me personally, doesn't make me happy. So you have to clue into your personal affinity for specific colors and try to pull in those colors in your home to just make you feel happier. Here's a pro tip if you're unsure of what colors excite you in your home. Look to your closet to inform your choices. You take one look at my closet, you can already tell I'm a maximalist. It's filled to the brim with color, pattern, textures. Even though I am a high fashion glam girl, there's gonna be a whole section of just black and denim. The rest of it is just alive with color. So look to your closet to see what colors really bring you joy. If you're unsure about color, why not try green? Or more specifically, just add plants. Nature has the capacity to naturally uplift us and inspire us. I mean, I did an entire video on the benefits of biophilic design, so you don't have to ask me twice to tell you to just add more plants in your home. Plants have the ability to sharpen our attention span and actually allows you to perform tasks more successfully both inside and outside of your home. Having plants present in your home has also been shown to improve your concentration and memory retention. Of course, we're talking about the reduction of stress, so they look great in pretty much any single environment. Here are my pro tips for styling with plants starting at the entry. Once you get rid of all of the clutter at the entry, here's where you can just add plants. I love seeing plants in like really huge pots right on the floor. If you have a large enough entry landing zone to do symmetrical pots, that would be really fabulous, like on the side of an entry console. The entry console can house your valet station. It can have like a cute little lamp on the console, even like a really beautiful mirror or artwork. Crafting an entry experience that is both functional and stylish and bright with fresh, vibrant plants is a wonderful way to be greeted by your home the minute you step in the door. Now, moving on to the living room. The living room is a little bit more strategic. I'm going to assume that you have a coffee table in there or just like a solid surface for functionality. I love to place a really small plant right on top of the table. Look to the shape of the table to inform your plant choice. If you have a round table, you want to echo that same shape and look for like a small round planter. If you have a rectangular table or a squared off table, you can mimic that same shape so that it follows the good rules of design. Or if you're looking to mix it up and add some contrast in this space, why not choose a plant that is really admired for its sculptural beauty versus having something that's just really full and lush. In the dining room, you can place a really beautiful tall potted plant in the corner. Or if you have a sideboard or a console, I love to place a cluster of really small plants on that surface. Think about ways where you can strategically add layers of plants in this space so your eyes kind of travel around. They don't really land unless your design calls for a very specific strategy. Natural lighting has the power to motivate and energize you. Our eyes adapt naturally to natural light, calling for better sleep patterns. But what if you don't have natural light in your home? How do you optimize a lighting plan to create a more stress-free environment at home? Next to space planning, lighting is another important element of interior design because it can create a desired atmosphere, highlight features, and provide functional illumination. I want you to think about the room in your home that receives the most light. How does that room make you feel? What about the room in the home with the least amount of light? Was that by design or by default? There are 4 different types of lighting that can be used in interior design, and we're going to start with general lighting or ambient lighting, which provides the general illumination for the room. Ambient lighting or general lighting is probably the most important light that you need to prioritize in just about any space. The goal is to create a comfortable level of brightness without any glare. This is the first most important type of lighting that is used to make a space visible. So when you walk in a room and you turn on your switch or the light, where is that switch wired to? It's usually the general lighting in a room. The next type of lighting in a space is called task lighting. Task lighting provides bright, focused light for a particular task. It could be working at your desk with like a specific desk lamp. It could be cooking in your kitchen with the under cabinet lighting. You might be reading in bed with a little bedside table lamp. Pendant lights are also considered a task light because it's just one fixture. It could be multiple bulbs, but it's hanging from one singular pendant, almost like you're wearing like a necklace with a pendant, right? It's just one fixture that's dropping down from the ceiling. So it's usually highlighting like a table or a corner, but it has a very defined zone for a specific task. Now, accent lighting highlights specific design details. It could be wall art, it could be architectural detailing. Accent lighting can add depth and dimension to a room, and oftentimes it changes the entire mood of the space. Now, decorative lighting is all of those yummy fixtures that we are absolutely obsessed with, right? Like all of those really beautiful chandeliers, the wall sconces. These are lighting fixtures with artistic elements that just bring us joy. So anytime you're looking to optimize the lighting in your space, I want you to use both natural lighting and synthetic lighting. In order for you to have maximum control over the artificial synthetic lighting that you have in your space, my pro tip is to place everything on dimmers. Dimmers are very inexpensive to swap out if you already just have like a regular switch that toggles on and off. Dimmers will allow you to control the layers of lighting in a room. I typically put dimmers on any single lighting change. So general lighting is on one dimmer, the ambient lighting is on another dimmer, the task lighting is on its own switch. So you want to be able to optimize all the lighting and control it. I love layers of light. Don't shy away from layers of light. I actually have a really great video on the channel now. It's called How to Add Lighting to Your Space Without Hard Wiring. This is perfect for renters. We went through an entire list to look for USB compatible like chandelier lights, pendant lights, strip lighting, under cabinet lighting, wall sconces, you name it. We compiled it all. I'm actually going to leave a link for you right here if you want to check that out. Now, my last pro tip when it comes to lighting is a really, really important one. You have to consider the color temperature of the bulb. It took me years to get this right because for a very long time, I was actually living with 2700K, which is like a very warm white. It almost leans yellow. I love a very traditional environment. My personal design aesthetic actually leans towards like eclectic traditional. So I like an old world space. But as I've gotten older and have gone through a couple pregnancies now, my eyesight has actually changed. I feel like everything is just so much dimmer now that I need brighter light. So my new favorite light bulb color is the 3000K. It's like a soft white. It's still warm and it's not like a stark daylight. I'll put a handy dandy little chart here for you to study all of the color bulbs. This is a good exercise to see which lighting color you favor the most. That's it for today's video, everyone. Unlocking the power of interior design, how to create a more stress-free space at home. When I went to design school, like way back when, one of the first things that they taught you was design is to control what the viewer sees. So we're applying that same principle to your home and the interior design of your space. I want you to look around at your home and the room that you're in right now. And with a fresh perspective, I want you to come back into the space from a sense of control type of standpoint. How do you want to control how you use the space? There are a lot of people out there who don't look to their homes as a first source of comfort, and I want to change that. Remember that it costs absolutely nothing to start feeling better in your space right now. So just as an experiment today, I want you to isolate the one room in your house that brings you the most joy. It could be a pocket of joy. It could be like your own little cozy corner. Now, in the comments, I want you to describe that space to me. Are there plants? Is there good lighting? Do you rent your home? Do you own your home? I've always felt like living in a rental is not an excuse to prioritize comfort or wellness. So I'm very curious to read your answers. If you like this type of content, please give this video a like and a thumbs up. Share this video with anyone you know who's struggling to feel comfortable at home. We all want to live a stress-free life, and that starts with our environment. I have a really great video on the channel now talking about 5 ways to love your home even more. I'm gonna link it right here. Next up, we have interior design don'ts for everyone in their 20s. I'm so excited for this video. I have made some huge design mistakes back then in my 20s, and I'm sharing this video so you don't do the same. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'll see you next week.